Hello guys, how are we doing? Welcome to the second Help with Harrz series of 2024. Today we're going to be reviewing It's Geordie's gameplay. This is a series, if you don't know, if you've never seen it before, where I review your gameplays in order to maybe help you improve as a player, give you some little bit of coaching advice, obviously all for free. The format is as follows. We review the form that I asked you guys to fill in. If you want to submit your gameplay, feel free to click down on the link below in the description. You need to upload a video to either Twitch or YouTube and then just send the link, as well as give some brief information of the form so I actually have some context when I'm reviewing your gameplay. So we look through this, we then go through an analysis of the gameplay itself, and then at the very end of that we give you a little bit of feedback and like some good, some bad, and then a potential rank I see with some like 2 key tips I should give you to hopefully implement your gaming going on. So kicking it off, we've got It's Geordie here, who plays on old gen console. They play for 24 hours a week, so that's just over 3 hours a day. Current rank is Gold 2, highest rank in MW2 last COD was Plat 3. They play on 88 cents, which is reasonably high. I don't know whether they feel like they have to be on high cents because they're on old gen. Perhaps that's the case. The FOV is 106, maybe a little higher than I'd like to see it, but we'll get there. And then just some details here. So they use a Razer headset and a PS4 controller with Sony back buttons and right thumb control freak. So you've got a little bit of a customized controller there as well as a headset, so that's good to know. I'd like Harrz to focus on position and my awareness and aiming. Okay, easy peasy. And then I believe my position is not as good as it wanted to be, and my aiming is sometimes off. When I get caught in a blunder, I don't know how to get out of it sometimes. We've all been there, we all know how that feels. So just noticing a couple of things here. Sensitivity does seem a little bit high, as does the FOV. People tend to be a little bit more accurate with an FOV under 105. So 100 is the basis, but obviously it's completely personal choice. But the first thing I'd do is maybe try a slightly lower sense, maybe a 77, which is what I play on, and then an FOV of maybe under 105. I'd probably go down a couple of notches to 104 and just see how that feels. But generally speaking, those will give you better accuracy by default, but obviously it's completely personal choice. So, shall we kick off with the gameplay? Let's go. So I believe we're looking at a control on invasion here. The first thing I'm actually noticing is an immense amount of stick drift here, which I don't know whether is you're aware of, but interesting to know what your dead zones are. So your dead zones should be as low as possible, but not too low in that they will give you no stick drift. So you want to make sure that you don't have stick drift whatsoever, because obviously that's going to throw out your aim completely massively. So a couple of settings obviously I've noticed you should really try and look into changing if you can. But nice, you played your life there well. And I don't mind that. I mean, you've given up B off the rip, but it's not too much of the end of the world, because A's usually the harder one for them to get on offense. So at the moment you're chasing red dots, you know there's people over here, so I don't really mind this too much. You did have a lot of map control, which you've since given up, so that's the only concern I do have. Managed to beam the guy there. Nice little bit of movement. Okay, bad time to reload, I guess. Bad time to reload. You only shot 8 baby bullets in that clip, so I don't really think there's a need to reload. You don't need to reload after every kill. That's a habit which is hard to get out of. But yeah, you can easily fix that by every time you jump onto the game, hop in a private match and just try and get maybe 5 kills within the same mag, and that'll just make that, you know, a little bit more efficient. So I think we've focused on B a little too late here. We let them get we let them get B, and then we had no map control at A. I always tell people, or I play with this all the time, if you're gonna give up one complete point on control, intentionally or unintentionally, you want to try and ensure that you've got every single member of the team that you're currently in over towards the other side of the map. So realistically, as soon as they got B, you should have fully set up A as a team. So don't mind this sort of push off the rip. They've done it themselves. It worked. And the only thing there is that you seemed a little bit off with your aim and positioning, but that's fine. I would like to see maybe a little bit of utility use. So if you know there's a chance of being pushed from that side, throw a nade, throw a stun, that sort of thing. Okay, that guy's on a god heady. Really good decision making there in not dying to that person, because you know that guy's going to be a headache. Okay, he's actually died to a nade there. So I'm not sure what your third perk is. I've never seen it before. It's not EOD, nor is it tac mask. First thing I'd fix is make it EOD. I think that's the go-to third perk that you can use. I think it's called gear in this game. this is nice. What I'm seeing right here is really nice. You're checking your corners, you're looking left, you're looking right. You're being really clever with how you're playing the progression up the map. Again, you're checking the corners and then you're entering to the point. Really nice strategy. Whatever's going on in your head there is the right thing to do. I don't like that chow. I don't like that chow. That's the only thing I would say about here. So you're checking the corners. It's all fantastic up to this. So you've just been stunned, which means they're going to be pretty close. And you know you've got real no team support here. And your chances of you surviving this is fairly low because you've just got, you know, an enemy team member is over towards the left here and towards the middle of the map, and then you're going to know they're going to be coming off spawn. So I don't mind the jump onto point, but you've got a little bit of an aim assist issue there because you're shooting at sort of between two people, so that's throwing your aim off slightly. The best thing you could have done there, if you just wanted to guarantee a single kill, is to either jump up on one of these bins or on these ATM machines, jump up onto the sink, anything like that, and just try and guarantee a kill. That, or hop back out the point, play for the kill mid, if you can, and then just wait for your teammates to support you when you end up popping on A. But you're alone here. It's a really sticky situation. I also noticed you've got the heavy Regal stock on the back of your MCW. I've not had any luck since the recent patch. Obviously, I don't know. It was a while ago now, and so you may have changed the class. But just maybe try it out. The precision heavy stock, it adds a lot better aiming stability, which should help your accuracy. But the Regal stock just seems a bit. It's not what it used to be. It's what everyone used to use, but now it's pretty crap, if I'm being completely honest. So I do like this whole cautious approach to the play. You've got teammates here. You don't really want to die first. So I don't mind this play whatsoever. You get info on a guy in the hill, so you're sort of playing for him. Managed to get that one guy, but you know there's a second guy because you're aware of the minimap. This is really nice gameplay. What I'm seeing right now is, it's perfect. I think you maybe got a little bit into a false sense of security there, just because you had another teammate on A, but that's fine. But yeah, just to summarize things so far, because I've said a lot, is the class could do a little bit of adjusting. Maybe change to the precision heavy stock, change to EOD as your third perk or your gear, and then you should die to nades less generally. Okay. This is a very common spot. This head glitch here, which we're about to chow off of, is a very common spot to have. If you know they're on point, which I'm assuming you sort of do because you're aiming that way, or at least you get the gist that they are, just shoulder it. Just literally just get your pistol out or get whatever out and just go right and left really quickly, check if someone's there, because it's a fairly common place for them to sit and check. So I'm just having a quick look here. You're making good progress at the map. So you're not running down the right, which is, I see a lot of people make that same exact mistake. Is you just flood the right street. It's, you're funneling directly where they expect you to be. Really good actual movement there. That whole drop shot and the rotational challenge was perfect. That was perfect. It was a great kill. I like that. Nice little pre-aim as well. Pre-shot, sorry. And you're backing up. So you've had the stun and the nade in your back pocket for a while now. Now, you know a bunch of enemies have just died. This is the last guy you need to deal with on the hill. It's a 3.5 seconds respawn delay on control. Or at least it should be. So what I would like to see is either you fully chow this guy with the team. Obviously, you can communicate with them if you can. But if you decide to back off a little bit, throw a stun, throw a nade towards the enemy spawn just to delay their push slightly. It's right here. Instead of wide swing challenge, I mean, you do get the kill. Maybe throw a dead nade or a dead stun just to get that initial kill. You do throw a nade there, finally. Great. Good to see. Yeah, but you do get picked off just because they're spawning so close. So you are going to spawn in Narnia here, near Ice Cream. And you're very conscious that you're running out of time. So it's 2-0. It's absolutely fine. It is what it is. Again, you're seeing the stick drift here, which realistically, if you want to fix stick drift, you want to... it might be a control freak. You've got to be honest. Maybe try taking your control freak off unless you're really used to it and you need it. Maybe try to take your control freak off and see if that reduces your stick drift. But realistically, you should be able to not touch the controller and your player doesn't move whatsoever. So obviously that's going to throw out your aim completely if you've got a considerable amount of stick drift. But there's an easy fix to that. If you don't want to get a new controller, it's just up your dead zone in your settings to the right of the right stick. Nice shots, by the way. Just high enough so that you don't end up with that little bit of stick drift, that little bit of movement. Okay, so you're in a super strong position there. You've got 3 of the enemy team down, and the last guy you know is on A. So instead of challenge through B, you've got the awareness that you've got 2 teammates already on B. You're aware that your whole team needs to put emphasis on A, and you're doing your job here. This is perfect. This is a great. You've got the gist that the weight is towards B, and you've played A. That's perfect. Again, clearly you know what you're doing in your head, like you know the strats, you know the position and things like that, because you seem to be doing it well. The only thing I would say about your positioning so far is you give up a little bit of map control sometimes, but other than that, I don't think that's something you really need to work on too much. Your pre-aiming's fine. I like this. Your slide cancelling to the point, getting it down. Pre-aim fine. If I'm honest, I wouldn't put so much emphasis on trying to run that control point down. Obviously, if you can do it, it's ideal. But prioritize getting through the point. Prioritize getting through B to that P2 tank or the little construction area in the square to the right, and just sit on a heady. That 3 seconds or 2 seconds of delay may cause you to not have that map control. And what you've had to do there, I mean, it might not have worked because they might have been too close anyway. And our hindsight's a wonderful thing, but you've had to back up there and lose that B control, that map control towards B. Whereas if you just didn't get on that point to reduce that time, to reduce the tick, you could have pushed onto that B tank and had them in a disgusting spawn trap there. But that's fine. Now, if the tick was almost 1 tick, let's say it was 99% of the way into the 1 tick, I'd have a little bit more of an idea as to why you'd want to reduce that, because every tick matters in control. But considering it was literally like 1 or 2 seconds you had to pull back for, and it was like a third of 1 tick, so like a ninth of the entire capture point at B, I don't think it was probably worth that map control that you gave up there. So I'm liking this, you're sort of pre-aiming things. The general gist of how you're playing seems to be pretty good, and you're absolutely fine. You're on 17 kills. You're carrying the team, guy. You're carrying the team. So you're going to be on offense again. Let's see how we deal with this. So let me just skip ahead a little bit. So again, the stick drift is obvious. I don't know how you're playing with it. I've got to be honest, I don't know how you're playing with it. So there's something wrong with your minimap. I'm not sure what's going on here. I can't see half the team on your minimap. There we are. Yeah, that third perk, I have no idea what it is, but just change it to AD. Just change it to AD, or at least tac mask, because this one I don't think is very useful. So nice, you've actually got the whole control of A. The only thing I would suggest is that you don't really want to peek at a point. If you're on the point, as a team, just hold a pre-aim and force them to wide swing onto the point. Because realistically, if you're sat on a head glitch like that and you lose, you're no longer at the point. And, you know, if every single one of you did that and you lost that gunfight, you're back to square one. But that was a really nice challenge on that guy. Sandbags, obviously, as you know, that's a common place you like to play, and therefore you pre-aimed it. So obviously you need to expect that from others. If it's somewhere where you commonly play or where you commonly pre-aim, expect that the enemy's going to pre-aim it as well, which goes back to my original point when I mentioned that little sandbag push you made earlier. So this is lovely. This is what I'm seeing here is a really nice way of preserving your life. Now, all ticks matters, and you don't want to die just for a tiny little bit of incremental difference on B. That's tough. I'm just going to get back to that second. So you've made a really good play here. You've managed to stay alive at B here, which makes this whole run to this point very easy. So your teammates can run up to P2 tank, run onto B without having a concern whatsoever that an enemy is nearby, because you've stayed alive. You've opened up this whole street by staying alive. If you've died here, all 4 of your teammates get reset back to Palace. So playing your life and playing this, as I say, the control upwards the map, maintaining control of this area of the map is so important. You started to reload and you saw him and you waited to finish the reload. So what you could do is just press, I know you're on PlayStation, so if you just double tap triangle, it will cancel the reload. And if you do that really quickly, you'd have been able to chow them, but you might know that. Yeah. I think you end up getting the kill anyway, so it's not too much of an issue. It's a really sticky gunfight again. Yeah, that's tough. If I was going to be really picky, which I don't really want to be too picky, is you saw him, that's fine. If you carried on trying to trace him and you jumped, your aim would have gone over this little concrete post and you'd have probably been able to finish the kill. You do jump eventually, but it's a little bit late. But that might be input delay or something like that, because I know you're on old generation console. So you've got A and you've run 1.5 ticks through B. Now, this is the little tip I'd like to give, which I sort of gave to my teammates because it helped us all. If you're off spawn here and you're trying to get B and you don't really have any sort of mid-map control, throw a stun through this digger, this little hole here, throw a stun through that hole. And what that will do is enable you to know whether or not someone's about to push your dark alley, because the easiest way you can die off of B is by having an enemy run through the dark alley here. So if you spawn in ice cream and you're pretty much, you know, there's no control of mid-map from your team, throw a stun through this digger, just like here, and then that will tell you whether or not someone's pushing through mid. If you know they're there, you can have someone pick up dark, or you can guarantee there's someone there. Or if there's no ticks, you can say, okay, I'm just going to focus my point. I don't need to check this, and just, you know, full frontal control from you guys there. So sort of like this. So you sacked the point there. You did get pinched from dark, which perhaps you would have known if there if you threw a stun. But I'd like to see more use out of these stuns. So when you're running up to B, if you're not throwing it over the digger or through the digger, the arm of the digger, throw it over B. Throw it over B. It will tell you. It would give you a stun. Gives you so much intel on whether or not an enemy's there. Obviously, you'll get a hit marker if they are there, and it's free info. It's like here's a ping of the UAV. If you don't get a tick, if you don't get a hit marker with the stun, you can guarantee an enemy isn't there. So it's such valuable info that if you're just running towards B, throw a stun over it, even if you don't know a player's there or not, and you'll potentially, you'll get a hit marker, and therefore you'll get info. But if you don't, obviously that's still info. It's still info that they're not there. So the final round, you're on defense. Let's see what route we take off the rip here. So as you're here, you can literally, from this tank or from this little tomb area here, or back from this little cement block behind you just here, you can see, if you look down the middle of the map, you can literally see how many of them cross from their spawn to B. And then you can determine your play from that. So let's say you see 3 cross at B, maybe you focus heavily on B. Whereas if you see 3 nothing cross B, you can guarantee that they're full sending A, which I think is what your teammate's doing. I think your teammate's saying, oh, they're full sending A. I've not seen anyone cross to B, blah, 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 blah. And as a result, your teammates he's done a good job there. I've got to be honest, he's done a really good job. So I don't mind this. You're trusting your teammates to get the kills towards A, which I quite like, and you've managed to maintain this mid-map control, which allows your teammates to push up through middle without being worried that anyone's going to be there. Nice little early pinch onto B as well, getting you a couple of kills. And you've given up the map control yet again. See, if you'd have... you've done the same thing here. So you've just cleared B. Yeah, I get you've got 13 bullets left. Get that reload in. You've just checked this, and you know no one's there. Hop onto the tank. Allow your teammates are behind you. Let them filter in. Think of it as like a conveyor belt system where you've just done a job. Let them fill the gap behind you. You then push up and you keep map control. What you could have done here is sit on the tank or sat on this construction area to the right and just absolutely beamed anyone running down this site. But instead, you've obviously backed up to the point, and as a result, this guy's managed to push up to ice cream pretty much for free. Obviously, you've still got teammates there, so it's helped a lot. But you could have been that player, sat on the tank and benefiting the team heavily. Now, I am a little bit concerned all your team have pushed here as well. Like, you might probably have spawned to the right here. But yeah, you've got... This is good. This is really nice. You've got you've got many kills towards B. No one's at A. And then suddenly your whole team has realised that, oh crap, we need some support at A. So you've done that. That's fine. So this is a nice little spot I like to hold myself. I like to sort of go between dark, looking across the palace, and then to the right to the tank. But if you've got someone in middle, you can literally just sit at this tank. You can either sit on this tank or sit on the construction, as I said, on the right, as long as you trust your teammates to get in the middle. So obviously hearing shots, you're coming to help out. But you've got 2 guys mid. You don't need to be here. You don't need to be here. You can literally see, as long as you're... the only problem is you don't have a teammate on the left street. That's the only thing I would say. But yeah, this is a good amount of pressure. You've got a really good map control here. They can't get B down B lane because you're here. So this, again, you've lost this positioning for 2 reasons. It's not because you've lost a gunfight. It's not because your accuracy is, you think your accuracy is bad. It's nothing to do with that. It's because, 1, you haven't thrown a trophy down. You've had this trophy in your back pocket for a while, and you're not on a point. You're not capturing a point. I understand that, but you're at a very pivotal area of the map where you're making a huge difference to your team. You're locking down 1 out of 3 lanes as a single player, and you're on a disgusting head glitch. Just throw a trophy at your feet. Be selfish with that trophy, and make sure that... I get you think it might be selfish because you're trying to maintain your own life with that trophy, but the amount you're doing for your team by staying alive at this point is unreal. And obviously, you also have some random third perk as your third perk, and not EOD. If that was EOD, you would have survived that and maybe it'd have got you with the damage from some bullets, maybe as well as that. But yeah, get a trophy down. Make sure you have a EOD on, and you don't buy from that either way. It's nice use of nades there. So again, you're not using your stuns. I'm trying to remember if you have used your stuns at all. I'm trying to think if that's something you've done at all. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been low. It's been, if you have used them, it's not been much. But again, this is a nice run off spawn. You say your awareness and position on the map's crap in your form, but this is fine. You spawned in, you've recognised that your teammates have got a lot of pressure towards the B side, and you've gone, you know what, there's a gap that needs filling towards A, let me pick this up. And you've done exactly that. You've cleared the street, and they can't get down here as a result. Cool, nice gameplay. So let's get into the good, the bad, and where I think you could get to if you implement a couple of changes into your gameplay. So I obviously know you're on old gen console, which is obviously going to limit you somewhat. You don't have the world's best gaming PC, for example, so you're not going to be scump, but there are still ways in which you can improve yourself. So the good things, you've actually got some really smart plays in you. You play the map really well. The only things I would say that aren't smart is when you give up map control to maybe get a tick or two down at a site. Definitely push through instead of pulling back. You want to maintain map control on control. That's such an important thing. But other than that, your reads of the minimap, you're filling in the gaps where your teammates aren't, are huge, and that's really smart. Similar to that, your thoughts process on the map seems fairly fair, and your decision making is generally good. So I think you're out of your shooting and out of your movement and all the basic stuff like that. You've got a brain. You're actually not a Brad. I've seen people in Crimson with, like, they've got gunny, they've got movement and whatnot, they've got an Unreal PC, but the fundamental things that you're doing by filling in the gaps, I see people don't do even at like the Crimson Diamond level. So I definitely see that's where your strong points are. You also apply pressure correctly. Like when you had that big tank control at the very end of that round, they couldn't get there. I mean, you did have the wrong class on, but it is what it is. And then finally, your centering seems pretty good. There's not been many points I've seen your centering low. You're always centering where the enemy sort of should be. You could pre-aim more maybe, but obviously you don't want to slow down your gameplay too much. But I'm overall pretty happy with your centering, and that's something that a lot of people, especially at like a gold level, seems to fail to understand, that you need to not be aiming at the floor, even if you're not aiming in. So yeah, bunch of good points. I could go on for the good points because you're clearly not a terrible player whatsoever. I'm surprised. I'm surprised you're in gold or silver at this point. But yeah, so things I think you should work on. Obviously, I've touched on a couple of things through the gameplay itself. But first of all, I would just try a new class. This stock has been nerfed, and as a result, I don't think anyone uses it. Like if you look at any pro class setups or any challenger player setups, they don't use it. As I say, I use the precision heavy. Try it, give it a go. If you don't get on with it, you can always switch back. It's not the end of the world, but just get into a bot lobby and try out a different stock, just because I feel like it might be hindering you slightly. And then another thing with your class, obviously, just as I said, probably 100 times already, just change up that third perk, put it to EOD, and you're going to die from nades far less, or at least you're going to get damaged from nades way, way, way less. Unless, I mean, I'm not actually not aware of what perk that is you've got on your on your gear slot. So if it's something absolutely unreal, correct me. But obviously, everyone uses EOD, and it's deemed the better perk because you don't want to get easy deaths from just a random nade flying at you. Another thing I would want to mention is that there's something up with your stick drift. So stick drift obviously happens when your controller's maybe a bit old, or you've got some crumbs or something in your right stick or something like that, and it basically means that even if your controller's down, your character is moving or looking around slightly, and that is obviously going to affect your aim quite considerably, actually. So yeah, I've touched on this briefly. Maybe increase your dead zones. If you don't want to buy a new controller, that's absolutely fine. Obviously, controllers aren't cheap, and I don't know how old you are, you might not even have an income. Up your dead zones a little bit. If you want to know how you can do that, obviously just let me know and I can give you a little bit of a guide on how to do that, because the settings are quite extensive. But up your dead zones, maybe, I don't know if it is the control freak, but try it off, and if the stick drift disappears when you take the control freak off, maybe that's it. Maybe there's too much weight on it. But yeah, generally speaking, the stick drift isn't going to be helping your accuracy. I also think your sensitivity might be a little bit too high. Now, 8.8 is something that professional players don't play on. I get you might feel like you're a little bit behind, and therefore you need to catch up with the result of a higher sense because you're on old gen, which I completely get. I used to be like that completely when I was on the older gen consoles. But try a 7.7 sense. When you're in that private match trying a new stock, try a 7.7 sense. And I would advise upping your dead zones as well in that little private match. So, and when you're doing that, you can also increase or decrease your ADS sensitivity multiplayer. So if you want to still be able to have a really high sense, like an 8-8, and be mobile around the map and be able to check corners quickly and things like that, but when you aim in, you want your precision to be a little bit more accurate, go into your ADS sensitivity multiplier settings and maybe reduce that to a 0.9 or a 0.85 or something like that. And what that will do is it will maintain your general sensitivity when you're not ADS, but when you're ADS, you're a little bit more accurate. And then finally, obviously, use of trophies could be a little bit more. You can use the trophies to, control the map, which I've touched on already. And then finally, your lack of utility. So throw your stuns, throw your nades. I know stuns don't kill people, but they can be enough of a deterrent for people to make them not want to push an area, and it's valuable info for you. So, my summary, you got to plat last in MW2, and I definitely think you can do it there again. Your movement and your in-game sense is better than the level I think you're at. You make smart plays. As I said, the only downside to your position in the movement, I thought, in this placement around the map in this game, was the fact you pulled back to just get a couple of ticks down on B, which I don't think you need to do on control. You just want to stay forward, but I'm not going to bang on about that anymore because I've already mentioned it. So I definitely think you could get to diamond. Whether it's high diamond or low diamond, I'm not sure. Obviously, you are limited by the fact you are on console. So I think you could get to diamond pretty easily in MW3 by the end of it, at least, especially if you take in some these couple of notes I'm going to give. So what I'd like you to do, if you've got time, is try some things out. Get into a private match, stick the timer on 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I know it seems like a lot, but this is going to benefit you massively. And when you're in that private match, try a different stock, because the Regal heavy stock is crap. Try up in your dead zones until you don't get stick drift, and try lowering your sensitivity, or at least your ADS sensitivity. Shoot 200, 300 bots with that setup and see how you get on. Keep your aim assist on. Don't change anything like that, but just try and get into a lobby, a private match, and with the new changes I've just given you, and just try and give it a go. And then obviously every time you hop on the game, spend 10 minutes, shoot maybe 150, 200 bots before you actually start getting into rank play, and your shot's going to be warm. And if you implement that into every single session when you're gaming, your accuracy is just going to improve and improve and improve and improve. But obviously, you've got to understand there's things you can change quite easily, which will impact. There's another thing I don't often mention, is that when you're shooting someone far away, always make sure your left stick's moving. If you feel like your gun's bouncing way too much, your left stick on your controller, if you literally just wiggle it very slightly from left to right really quickly as you're shooting someone long range, the aim assist will do most of the work for you, and you'll actually be fairly accurate at long range. That's what I do if I'm beaming someone at a distance off a heady. My left stick gets a little bit of a fast wiggle from left to right quite rapidly, and aim assist does most of the work, I've got to be honest. So yeah, if you have any questions, obviously you can join my Discord down below and contact me directly, or you can leave a comment down below, for which I will be reading all of his comments as well. And yeah, I don't think you should be too hard on yourself. You're pretty cracked, kid. You're pretty cracked. So that'll be me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao for now.